What's up guys, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to identify oyster beds on a satellite map. Now, oyster beds are great areas to look for inshore species such as sea trout, redfish, snook, even flounder, and some other inshore species. So they're great areas for those fish to feed. It's cover, it's structure, it draws in bait, so a great area to look for those fish. Now, when you're looking at satellite maps, this is a great benefit of satellite maps, is you could do your research at home before you actually hit the water, so you can identify spots to go to. Now I'm going to be showing you how to identify oyster beds just on a general map. This is Google Map View here, which we are going to zoom in. Let's look at the Tampa, St. Pete area. Keep in mind this is going to work wherever you have oysters. It all looks the same. But there are some instances where you may have some dark, muddy water where you can't see oyster beds. So I'm going to show you how to alleviate that issue. Now, as we're looking here on the satellite map, when you're looking for oysters, they're going to look like a pile of rubble or rocks, and they have a pretty defined edge to them. So we'll go ahead and zoom in on this area in Tampa. And this is a great example right there. This is an oyster bed right off this island. As you can see, it has a pretty defined edge, and it looks like a pile of pebbles or gravel or rock. So that would identify an oyster bed. So you have another one over here. They're never ever really going to be the same shape. They're going to have different shapes, but you can see they have a pretty smooth defined edge to them, and then they're surrounded by sand, and then you can see there's some grass around the outside. Here's a smaller one right off that point. So that would be an oyster bed, much different than a sandbar. So this is a sandbar right here. As you can see, it has jagged edges because of the grass, and it gradually goes out into deeper water. So that's the biggest way to tell, or the most obvious way to tell of where or what an oyster bed looks like when you're looking at satellite maps. But a little trick with this app I'm using here, this is a Smart Fishing Spots app. You can access it if you're one of our insider members. You can go to sfs.saltstrong.com, and that will pull up the Smart Fishing Spots app on desktop, or you can download the app in the App Store on Apple or Google Play if you use Android. But the way we can look at oyster beds on here is to go to the Layers tab in the app or on desktop, and then click on oyster beds. And you'll see these white spots get highlighted. As you can see, obviously those are oyster beds, but where this really helps is where you don't have clear water that you can see into. So Tampa area, it's nice and clear, but let's go ahead and turn this off really quick and go up to, let's say, Jacksonville, where it's really murky water. So Jacksonville, Georgia, sort of that border there. And as you can see, as we're looking at the map here, you can't really see oyster beds. Now, you can sort of see some stuff in the water there, but it's hard to tell if they're oyster beds. Possibly these would be the most identifiable because, again, they have sort of that smooth edge around there. But when we turn on the oyster bed layer, you can see they do highlight, and then there's all these other oyster beds that you probably missed or couldn't see because of the map image. So, very useful tool on the Smart Fishing Spots app to help you find some good areas to fish. And aside from the oyster bed layer, we do have some layers where you can actually change the map view. So changing the map view can help as well, because different maps have images taken at different times, so you can see, what the area looks like under different conditions. So let's just see here, we have the satellite layer picked up, and then you see you have normal, you have Bing, and then you have high res. So normal would be Google view. Let's go ahead and zoom into this area, and we'll turn off the oyster bed layer. So with the normal view, you can see all those oyster beds. But when we were on the other view, let's go to Bing, can't really see them too well, depending on the contrast of your screen. Then we go to high res. This gives you a really detailed view, and there you can see some oyster beds. And that's another thing about these images. They could be taken at low tide, high tide. Ideally, if they're taken at low tide, you can see more structure that way. So again, that's how to easily identify oyster beds on a satellite map. Hopefully this helps you out next time you're looking for some spots to fish while you're at home. Again, that's the nice thing about satellite maps. You can do all this research at home, get out there on the water, and then adjust as needed. And again, if you're interested in this app, this is our Smart Fishing Spots app. We have a ton of different layers that we have on here. I'll just put it on really quick, but we have Smart Spots, which highlights good areas of fish depending on the time of day, conditions, tides, time of year. All those factors come into play to pick those smart spots. And then we have all sorts of layers, tide stations, kayak launch spots, reports from our members in the community, community reports, seagrass layers, the oyster bed layers, boat ramps, artificial reefs, and another great tool, public land, private land, where you can actually see public access areas where if you're stuck fishing from shore or wade fishing, you need to find areas to access the water. Turn on this public land layer, and that'll show you where you have public land that you can access. And I'll actually be doing another video on that, showing you how you can actually use that to find good fishing spots if you're fishing from shore. So stay tuned for that. And again, you can find this app on the App Store if you're an Apple user, or Google Play, Smart Fishing Spots, or you can go to our website, saltstrong.com, and find some more info there. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below.